Are you looking to install an aftermarket trigger into your Glock? Look no further, because that's what we're doing. Hey guys, Work here. Welcome back to the bench. Today we're going to be going back to our Glock. Today we are going to be putting in an aftermarket trigger into my trusty Glock 19 RTF2. Now this thing already has one of the best triggers that I've felt on a Glock using the stock trigger. The only thing that I did was I put in a ghost connector back here in the back. But then I found out about the Suarez Face Shooter. The Face Shooter is a relatively flat face trigger. It's got a little bit of curve to it here, but really this is a flat face trigger. So they sell these things for about $65 shipped. And what you get is their flat face trigger and a Glock factory connector. Now, it does say that this is a polished steel Glock trigger bar, but this thing doesn't look polished. So before we install this, we're going to give this a little bit more of a shine. Then we're going to get this thing put in here and we're going to test and see what it does. First things first, let's go ahead and get a baseline. Get our handy dandy crappy wheel or trigger pull gauge out here. And my stock trigger pull is right around 4 pounds. It kind of varies between 4 pounds and 3.5 pounds. Now it does have a bit of take up, and you can feel just a little bit of stacking, but it doesn't have like a finite wall. It's a straight constant pull right through till the striker breaks. And I love this trigger, and everybody who's tried this thing loves this trigger. But I tell you, this thing is gonna look good in there. So first, let's go ahead and polish this, then we'll get this thing taken down, we'll go ahead and replace the parts and see how it does. So we're not really looking to do a whole lot to this, we're just gonna get a nice shine on here on both sides. And for that, we're just gonna use a standard buffing wheel and some gray polishing compound. I'm gonna throw that in my cheap Dremel. Now I've got one of these bendy things, I really like these, they make the finite work a lot easier. However, they're a pain in the ass to get pieces in compared to like just sticking them in the Dremel itself. Okay, I want some decent speed on this thing. Now I gotta get some polishing compound on here. Now, I'm never sure how to do this polishing compound crap, but last time this seemed to work pretty well. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. There we go. Okay. So that's probably enough compound on there. I think my cheap ass Dremel is starting to die too. That's not cool. Let's continue. So you can already see this at work. Alright, and with that little bit of work now, we have taken this from a pretty matte finish down to a pretty good shine. Now the reason that I did that was this thing rubs on the frame inside a Glock, and anywhere where something rubs, you want it to be as smooth as you possibly can get it. So doing that little bit should help smooth this trigger out a little bit. It's not going to reduce our trigger weight at all, but it should smooth up our pull a little bit. Alright, now that we got that done, let's go ahead and yank this guy apart. Let's slide to the side and go ahead and work on our frame. So we're going to need to pull pretty much the entire trigger control group out of here. So what we're going to need is a block, and then we're going to push out our pins from the left hand of the firearm to the right hand. So let's go ahead and grab a punch. The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to start up here with our front lock block pin. Let's go ahead and push that through. Then we're going to come back here to our back pin. Let's push that one through. And finally up here to our trigger pin. Now to get that one out, you may need to fiddle around with your slide catch a little bit. So with that one out now, all of the pins that are holding our fire control group are out. We can pull the lock block out. There it is. And we can pull the fire control group up and out of the back, and the trigger will come along with it, along with the slide stop. So at this point, we're gonna go ahead and set the frame aside, and man, this thing is dirty, but that's okay, because it's getting replaced. So the next thing that we need to do is identify what we're taking apart. So we're replacing this dirty piece of crud with this nice shiny guy. So let's go ahead and, so what we're gonna do is there's a tab back here on the trigger bar that we need to get out of this plastic frame here. So we're gonna pull up against spring pressure on our trigger, and we're going to push down this way, which should rock that arm out of its slot to where we can pull up on the trigger bar and then release the trigger from the set. So now we can simply pull our trigger off of our spring, take our new trigger, install the new trigger on the spring, install the exact same way we took the old one off, pulling against spring tension, folding out, and then folding the trigger down and underneath that tab, and that is the installation of our new trigger in our trigger group. Now that we've got our new trigger in, we can go ahead and set our old trigger bar aside, and we can go ahead on the reassembly process. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our new trigger down in there, and we're going to slide the back down and into the frame. Now that we've got the trigger back in, let's go ahead and slide our lock block down in. And with that in there, we can take our slide stop, slide that in next to the trigger. We can look through this hole to verify that everything is lined up. Then we can take our pin and slide our pin back through. If it doesn't slide nicely, you can just wiggle your slide catch around until you find the hole and push it the rest of the way through. So at this point, let's go ahead and toss our pin in the rear here. That one should slide in nice and fairly simple. There we go. And now we've only got this one pin left. So this pin is going to go up top here. However, as you're sliding that pin through, and right here, you can see a little bit of spring, and that spring is the spring that holds our slide catch down. So from the front, you're going to press that spring down to underneath the pin as you slide the pin through, and that should capture the pin. So that should be it now. Now that our frame is back together, our old trigger is out, we can go ahead and get our slide, put our slide back on, and verify function. So far so good, it popped back out. Now let's verify to make sure that it fires. Oh yes, it does. It's got a beautifully nice reset. I don't think that it's lighter, but it's definitely a different pull. It is 100% smoother than it was. I don't feel nearly the grit that I did in it, but it's still that nice, smooth, linear pull all the way back until break. Let's do a trigger pull test real quick here. Verify our weight, because I don't think that it changed. Oh, this is really hard to do one of these on a flat-faced fulcrum trigger. Yep, 3.5 pounds on that one. And as I said, this is between a 3.5 and 4 pound trigger. So that is it, guys. That is the installation of the Suarez Face Shooter trigger. Now, I've seen this thing in action already. I'm really excited to get it out there and test it out. So keep an eye out for the review on this. I'm not sure when it'll be. We're planning on getting out pretty soon and sending a lot of lead down range. We've got a lot of upcoming products to let you guys know about. So that's it for this time, guys. Remember, if you like the video, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. Don't forget to hit the notification button to let you know when the next video comes out. I appreciate every one of you, and until next time, do your research, get informed, get to work.